Coming, I just wanted to introduce Mike Cheever. He is with the Puget Sound Blood Center Development Group, and his talk will be about the noise, what is relevant, and where we're headed. Please welcome Mr. Cheever.
Thank you. Thank you all. Like you said, my name is Mike Cheever. I run the development department for the Puget Sound Blood Center. I've been there for a couple of years. Prior to that, I worked with some esteemed colleagues in the room at UW Medicine through their last campaign, was there about 8 years. Before that, I was at the Houston Symphony for about 8 years running development there through a campaign. I'm on a board of a couple of various organizations and help consult with some smaller nonprofits, so I've got a good background there in different industries and size of shops. That being said, out of everybody in the room, I'm the fish out of water here. So usually I'm standing around with a bunch of my colleagues, alpha type people, and we're striking up conversations and having a good time. And so here I am with a bunch of data people. So I'm the one fish out of water, I would say, in this. But glad to be here. When they asked me to speak, I accepted it willingly, I'll say, because I think you guys are underrepresented in what you do, and we as fundraisers and development shops could not succeed without your good work in telling us where to go, how to do it better, where we're failing, and that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate the work that you all do there. As he said, what we're going to talk about today a little bit is what's important in the data, and probably as important of that is what is not important in the data. Data to me is kind of like events that you can pour a lot of resources into those things, but if it's not truly focused, then it's kind of busy work, so to speak, as far as that goes. I'll give you a little glimpse of where I think we're headed in the world of fundraising, at least as far as technology and data is concerned, and then I'll share with everybody the single best tool, so to speak, that fundraisers have right now currently at our disposal to succeed. The information I'm going to share with everyone came from magazines, books, blogs, newspapers, etc. And I did send out a survey to a few hundred contacts I have in the industry, asking them a number of questions about data technology. What do they need to succeed? What's lacking, and that kind of stuff. And I'll refer to that a little bit as we go along. So why do I have this picture up here? I think we've all seen this picture in one way, shape, or form. And I think it's because our industry is finally growing up. We used to be in the dark ages there back in the day of direct mail, and we've moved our way through corporate marketing and events and solicitations. But where I say we are now is starting this, I think the science is starting to take over the art in fundraising. So the data and the predictive modeling is starting to kick in. And the reason I don't have it kind of right there at the computer yet is I think the predictive modeling is still nascent. It's still pretty new, at least as far as our industry goes, as we're trying to figure out what should be included, what shouldn't be included, and that sort of thing. It's the predictive modeling has kind of produced mixed results, some good for some organizations, not for others. Some of that's data, some of it's the models, et cetera. But that's why I have it close to the end. So what's driving, the question is, what's driving us back to being bent over that computer there? And the answer is, of course, big data. So we've all heard about big data. We've all heard that it's the new oil. This whole conference is around data and metrics, analytics, et cetera. But what is it? Now, I'm not silly enough to sit here and spend the next half hour trying to describe to you all what big data is, but I'll just do a really quick cursor, then bring that into the fundraising light. Excuse me one second. My Marco Rubio moment there. So 2.5 quintillion bytes of data are produced every single day now. And just to give that some kind of context there, if we were to store that up for about 4.5 months or so, it would equal all the water on planet Earth. And it's rather young, so that's my little 2-year-old picture there. 90% of the data that we have currently at our disposal is less than 2 years old, which is, with all the sensors out there, credit cards, all that stuff that's taking place. So it's less than 2 years old. And it's speeding up. So the amount of digital information that we have increases tenfold every 5 years, and there's no end in sight, as you guys can imagine. With all the high-tech cameras and sophistication that's out there, it's speeding up. And it will keep increasing. Data storage, especially now as we're moving more things into the clouds and that kind of stuff, is doubling every 18 months. It's changing business. This is data, of course. It's changing business. It's changing the industries of science, government, medicine, and the arts. So every aspect of our lives is being restructured around this data. But is it too much? And my answer to that is yes. I think we're all being overwhelmed in the world of data, and we're getting lost a little bit there. But I go back to almost 100 years ago. In 1917, there was a CEO of a manufacturing firm that was complaining about data overload and that it was consuming too much of their lives. They were just being overwhelmed with it. And his quote was, "Time is lost, confusion results, and money is spent." So they're spending too much time with all of this data stuff. And that was because of the invention of the telephone. I would love to see this guy around today with all the tools that we have. So the reason I put that up there is everything is relative. So while I feel we're overwhelmed, everything currently that's taking place is relative. But what does it mean, what's relevant? And so the shorter answer is, which you'll love, is I don't know. Being the non-person in the room, I don't have the end-all answer there. That being said, most companies don't know either, and that has spawned a whole new industry that's being represented around here that's working with companies to tell them to try and, or show them how to distill this data and make the decisions that they need out of that, which is the data visualization analysis industry. It's now $100 billion a year showing companies what to do. And obviously, the purpose of this industry is to help companies streamline their operations, try and reduce costs where they can, increase revenues. It's all about succeeding as a business and making money. And this industry is, like Tableau here in Seattle and those types of things are there to help those decisions. Companies try and make those best decisions so that they know what they're doing going forward. Just a few samples of this. Cablecom, which is a Swiss telecommunications company, had a retention rate of customers that was 80%. Most nonprofits would kill for a retention rate of 80%, mine included. And they started to delve into their data and look at their numbers, and they found that they were losing customers at the 13th month, which makes sense because most of their customers are on a 12-month contract, so at 13, they've completed the contract, they're gonna leave. But what they found in the data is the decision to be made by those people who were leaving was made at the 9th month. So this allowed them to improve their processes, change their business decisions a little bit. They started offering incentives and discounts and that kind of thing around month 7, month 8. And this increased their customer retention rate to 95%. Best Buy, say, loves 7% of their donors. Of their customers. They went through their data and they found that 7% of their customers equaled 43% of their annual sales. So they've been moving stores, changing locations, changing store setups, focusing on those 7%, because that's the core of their business there. Airlines, as we know, every seat on an airline is money, so they oversell those, 110, 115% on a flight, making sure that every single seat is sold. When the airline industry dove into their data, does anyone guess what the single best predictor was that somebody would make their flight on time and be there? Any guesses? It was that they ordered the vegetarian meal. Are there any vegetarians in the room by chance? So you must really love airfare, airline travel at least. It's this data profiling, this analytics is changing sports. They found sport fixing matches in sumo wrestling. There was just a recent one a couple of weeks ago in soccer. It came out of the data, out of the betting and that sort of stuff around this. And Walmart, while this one's a little bit older information, most have probably heard about this. Walmart hired a company to come in and look at their sales and receipts. And they found, what they found was pre-catastrophe sales. So if there's a hurricane coming up the Gulf Coast, obviously they're going to sell a lot of flashlights and batteries. And what they found in that is that the strawberry Pop-Tarts increased along with flashlights and batteries. In addition to that, can anyone guess what the number one pre-catastrophe selling item is? Alcohol, beer. Beer is the number one pre. So we need our flashlights, batteries, our strawberry Pop-Tarts, and our beer so that we can live that out. Now this has changed Walmart's system. When they see Superstorm Sandy coming up the East Coast, they reroute trucks, they reroute supplies, and they get this there, and that has equaled a 17% increase in some of their sales. We do love our alcohol. Netflix even. Netflix has a new series out called House of Cards, thank you. Kevin Spacey, political thriller. The way they even put that together was through data. So their data of their customers showed that people liked Kevin Spacey and that people liked political thrillers and they liked blondes and they liked this kind of music. And so they built the entire series around what their customers liked. And their data showed them that people don't watch TV anymore of that one show Wednesday at 8 o'clock. You know, we are binge viewers now, and so we sit down and we watch several episodes at once. So when they released that series, they released season 1 all at once. And so they think that this is the future of television and where they're headed with that. Okay, now to the crux of this whole thing. How do we take this into the nonprofit world? How do we use this type of analysis to help our institutions raise more money? And at its core, I think it has to do with asking the right questions. So there's a great quote in the movie Moneyball where Brad Pitt's trying to change his team's thinking so that they can go against the big bad Yankees there. And he says they're asking all the wrong questions. And so I really do think it gets to that. And it can't get any more simpler than this, especially for all of you out there, but is to make sure that the data that you're looking at is directly tied to the top goals of the organization. And I'll give just a quick example of this. Typical direct mail reporting that almost any institution does, I think there was a couple of samples in this book. Percentage of return, so how many pieces did we send out? How many pieces came back? What was that return rate? We're all looking for that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, whatever it is. And so we rate the quality of that direct mail piece on that. We look at the average gift. So we take the total revenue that's out there, divide it by the number of gifts that came in, and voila, we get an average gift. That stat is fraught with issues, but that's neither here nor there. The ROI on the direct mail piece, so how much money did we spend on it? How much money came back from that direct mail piece? And trying to look at the ROI and was it worth our sending it? That being said, if the goal of your organization, let's say, is to expand your major gifts program or something along those lines, then I'll say you're looking at the wrong data. You're dissecting the direct mail piece, but you're not looking at how that influenced or didn't your major gift program. So I have a really quick video here to help highlight part of this, but I gotta exit here. So just give me 1 second. Hopefully this works. But that being said, the first 2 mailings brought in 39 major gift prospects to the organization. And that went off based off of the rating information and stuff that we pulled there. So when we look at it from our primary goal is to raise major gifts and expand that program, in that case, then the direct mail pieces kind of did succeed and accomplished what we wanted. So while it's simple to say this, but make sure what you were looking at is directly tied to your organization's top 5, top 10 goals, strategic plan, whatever it is. Because most are not. I think if you start looking through the dashboards, the samples in here and that kind of stuff, we're feeding information, but it's not directly tied to the top goals. So I think if you guys go out, ask your development departments, give me your top 10 goals, not how much money you plan to raise this year and that kind of stuff, but your top 10, expand the major gift program by X percentage and that kind of thing. It's probably not in those dashboards or anything like that. The next slide is dashboards. Regularly review them, use them. Our organization does this every single week now. The entire senior leadership of the organization gets together for 3 hours every Tuesday morning, And every single one of us presents on our slide decks and dashboards to see. These are just some mini examples, but every person on my team now has dashboards. And each one of these is individualized and focused on their top goals. How are every one of them doing? They got to be easy to read. You want to see trend lines if possible. I cut these a little bit. Below them are trend lines showing how they're doing, and not just how much money did we raise this month and next month, because over the course of the year that dollar amount is going to go up, but versus what you projected, what you're looking at, are you trending in the right direction with visits, calls, etc. And you want that historical. So like you said, relative figures will change your perspective there. So this is what happened where I worked at the Blood Center. I came on board, we're looking at our direct mail, we're looking at average gifts, response rates, et cetera. But the primary focus of our development department was to expand our major gift program and what's happening. So when we looked at the data on that direct mail program that we were sending out, the numbers did not look good. The response rates were low, the average gifts were not there. Red is okay, your staff needs to be able, you guys need to be able to show it, and the staff needs to be able to describe it and say, I've got a problem, let's dig in and fix it, and not always have that be a bad thing or a reprimand or something like that if something's red. Keep it simple, keep it to one page, and really do think about what is the story you're trying to get across in this data. And the thing to remember, I'm in the middle of a massive house renovation right now, and my architect's asking me what colors I would love in the walls and this and that. I'm like, I can't see that. That's not how my mind works. I can do pivot tables and crunch data and stuff like that, but I can't see that kind of stuff. So most of the people that you guys are presenting this to are not data people, they're not spreadsheet people, this is not how they look. So clean, simple trend lines, 3 simple colors. There's some blue in there. Blue is just that the projects are on hold for a reason, but red, yellow, green is really where you want to go with that. And then let the systems do the work, right? So computers are best with scales and measuring and variables. Let the systems do that and make sure that the humans can focus on the strategies and choices that need to be made. And like I said, track your goals, do it absolutely relentlessly, and make sure you're looking at the right stuff. Even some of the samples I've seen in here, they're long. I'm flipping through them. You want to get it to where any outside person of the organization can look at that piece of paper and tell what's happening. So I'm flipping through these, and I understand they're not in color, but they're not really showing me that type of information there. And like I said, I can't religiously look at this kind of stuff every week. It's tough to look at development stuff every single week of how much money did you bring in? Well, we didn't really have any asks, but you really want to be focused on those trend lines and instill that in your teams and your development operations. Because if you're not absolutely focused on your top 10 goals and zeroed in on where you're going, then you're floundering. Okay, that was that. Which is not a good combination. So I'm going to say not only are we all looking at the data intermittently and we're looking at it a little bit incorrectly, now I'm going to start to get to a little bit of the point. I'm going to propose that we're looking at the wrong data altogether, kind of as a group here. Everybody's around here been talking about predictive modeling and that sort of stuff, and that's looking at number of gifts, the events that they came to, the year they graduated, all that kind of transactional type data that's in there. My survey that went out to my friends and colleagues out in the industry asked them what do they need more of to succeed in what they're doing. And almost 100%, there was only one in there that didn't have some kind of transactional information that came back saying, oh, I need to see their giving history, I need to see the number of tickets that they purchased, what events they came to, etc. So we're all over here saying, we as fundraisers need more data, please show us more transactional data and what the donors are doing. And you know what's happening on this side of the house? Now, wow, I understand. I have this zoomed in so people can see it. This is a pretty simple infographic of what's taking place. You can see here the average nonprofit retention rate right now is 41%, and it's declining over the past several years. That's what that bottom piece shows. On this part, it shows new donor retentions at 27%. In fact, it's so bad that Chuck Longfield at Blackbaud has done some analysis on this recently. And he looked at a 10-year trend. Now, this is pre-recession also, so this isn't just 2008 was bad, 2009 was bad. He's going back a decade and saying that ROI to bring in, to acquire those new donors, it's costing more, that ROI is decreasing. Now, some could say there's more nonprofits. There's 1,056,000, I think, nonprofits in our country now, and keeps growing, so there's more competition out there. But it's getting harder and costing more for us to do it, and we're losing them. And the first year retention rate, like we showed, is 27%. We're losing nearly 3 out of 4. So we're all over here. We're looking for transactional data, wanting to know their last giving, when they came to the zoo and their memberships. And on this side, the people are headed for the doors. We can't keep them. We're losing 6 out of 10 in this realm. The average retention rate in our country is 41% in the nonprofit industry. 41%, that's horrible. We should be embarrassed by this. Okay, I figured I'd pander with some stormtroopers. The flounder may not work, but the stormtroopers had to. We should be embarrassed at 41%. It's bad, seriously. And it's not sustainable, right? There's not an infinite number of donors that are out there waiting to contribute their information. So we're over here, and the people are leaving. And I'll come back to this in a moment. The other reason I think they're leaving is we've gotten stale in the development world of what we're doing. Everybody is doing stuff the same way. So there was a trend moving to more restricted giving. Just tell us what you want to give to, and you can restrict it and pay for whatever program you want, and that's great. Then there was a trend the last 2 or 3 years of make sure you show the impact and what their gift actually did, and that'll keep them, and they'll want to stay and contribute. And then there was the trend of no more numbers. The stats aren't going to work. We need to tell stories and share with them how this affected this person or animal or something along those lines. And I don't think there was a single nonprofit in the country that didn't have a matching gift at the end of the calendar year this year to help. I scoured the internet looking at website. Everybody had one. If you didn't, then you were the one. But guess what? The old high school or college adage, if you highlight everything, nothing sticks out. We're all doing the same stuff now. Grateful patient stories, we're all using those where you can for hospitals and that sort of thing. In fact, my wife and I went to an animal-related auction this past year, and they did the usual, got the auction going, and then they showed the video to pull at the heartstrings, and it was a grateful patient story of a cat. And I just sat there, and people were crying. I'm an animal lover, or I wouldn't have been there in the first place, so no, don't get mad at me, they're cat lovers. But I just thought, wow, is this where our industry has gotten now? The cats have grateful patient stories, and I just thought, what's next? The rivers, or I don't know where we're headed in there. So we're all doing the same damn things, and it's getting stale. So the fundraisers are over here saying we need more transactional data. The institutions are over here doing all the same things, and the donors are headed to the door. And what do fundraisers want more of anything? They want that transactional data. So the rate of departure is increasing, and we're asking for the same stuff. The rate of departure is increasing, and we're all doing the same things. We want to know the last gift dates, tickets, memberships, etc. And this is what I would call the what. So everybody's running around there saying, give me the what. What's in our system? Tell me that what. And I propose what we should be wanting to know is the why. Why are they drawn to your organization? Why do these people contribute? Why do they come to your events? This is one of the single biggest challenges we have in our industry, is getting to the why, and it's because we don't know what it is. And without the why, we're doing our best to throw things at the wall, copy one another, see what sticks, but we're all just kind of scrambling out there. So when my survey asked what makes fundraisers successful, they said it was relationships. Their relationships with their donor is what makes them successful, which doesn't jive with the fact that they want more data. And you know what? It's hard to build a relationship without a why. And so I put this out there to all of you in the room. If you all want to change the industry, change your organization, help it raise more money, is help us figure out the why. Honestly, somebody in here is going to take this away, start up a company, get some venture funding, then they're going to go public, sell it to Microsoft or Google. When you do that, remember me. I'd appreciate that. But if you really do want to change our industry or your organization, figure out the why, not just the what. Focus, focus, focus. Help the fundraisers figure out the why. Help them stay focused. I think that piece is where you all can assist us the most, because we're going to get trapped over here wanting to know more and more and more, and you guys can help us stay focused there. So where are we going in our industry? And I'm going to say it's towards decentralization. Think of almost any industry that's out there, what's happening to it, what has happened to it, what's happened to it now. Here's my fancy graphic work. Computers, for instance, there was the mainframe, then the supercomputers, then we took them down to the PCs, then the laptops, and now we're all carrying around smartphones. They're smaller, they're faster, they're more efficient. Higher education. I remember when, University of Phoenix came out and everybody laughed at them of what's this online school stuff, you can't do that. And I doubt there's a higher education institution in this country that doesn't have some kind of distance learning program associated with it right now. Healthcare industry, the hospital model of build this big, huge building and make everybody come to us is dying pretty rapidly, and the new healthcare mandates from all the data we're looking at. Clinics are starting to get pushed more into the neighborhoods. There's more at-home health care. We're finding if 98% of the people that have a certain disease need the same pills to take, then let's just ship the pills home and they don't need to come into the hospitals and see the specialists and that kind of stuff. And it's even moving towards these little personal devices here. Now I'm really pandering to the audience. Tricorder Star Trek, and the original, this is what McCoy had. He'd rub it over there and he'd find your aneurysm needs some, or your aorta needs some work, you're gonna have aneurysm in there, we need to get in and fix that. You know what, there's actually 2 of these devices in beta right now out in this world. So there's 2 companies that have produced something like this that can help diagnose just by waving it over, which is just awesome to me. But back to the nonprofit side. Anyhow, I believe our devices are going to take over, and our model is going to decentralize right into the palms of our hands. So there's the little iPhone. The problem at the moment is that the reporting that the fundraisers do in the systems, action reports, contact reports, and that kind of stuff, it's really not computable. It's here's what happened on my visit, and here's what I found out about the kids and the family, and maybe if the institution's really good, there's some next steps in there and that sort of stuff of what they're going to do with it. But it's tough for you all to pull any kind of true information from that. But there's new systems coming on the horizon here. So one is Iris, that's the one shown. Has anyone heard of anybody? Ouch, okay. Iris is a system that has rolled out probably about a month ago. They're working with Merck and various large companies that come in and automate all of this data analysis, like companies like Tableau and everybody are doing. So this system comes in and it finds the patterns for you through all of the data, and people don't have to sit there and sift through it. And the brilliance of that is it removes the human intuition and things like that in there, and it's strictly looking at identifying the new patterns and things that's in that. So I think we're going to wind up using tools like Iris. It's not scalable today right now. It's just massive, they need really massive amounts of data. Even someplace, I think the University of Washington tried to get with a company to do something like this, and they didn't have enough data. So they really need massive amounts of data to do this right now, but it's just a matter of time until this gets scaled and templated down for nonprofits. And you all are going to be using tools like this, and you all are going to be helping us find new patterns in our data. You're going to be telling people like me that redheads tend to contribute more than not, or families with 3 kids tend to contribute more, and that sort of thing. There's programs like Equilar. Has anyone heard of Equilar out there? Check that one out for your industry. Equilar is a subscription-based software program that you can use, and it actually tells you when executives will get their payouts, when they're going to get their bonuses, and to the quarter or to the month. when they're going to be vested within an organization, when they're going to get their stock transfers. So if I know that XYZ CEO, COO is going to be getting his stock options in 9 months, I now know I have 8 months to get in there, because it's a hell of a lot easier to raise money from somebody that they haven't gotten yet, then they won't miss it. In addition, I think we will have instantaneous access to major gift probabilities. I think there's going to be a day and an age, this is just, what is that, Urban Spoons app there, but I think there's a day or an age coming here shortly. Somebody in this room will probably create it that's going to tell me when I leave the visit with a donor and I sit in my car, I start scrolling through and say, okay, they're married, they have 3 kids, scroll down, they have a Volvo, they have this, they have that. And it's going to come back with a statistic that says, all right, Mike, according to our algorithms, there's a 78% chance this person's going to be a major gift donor to your organization. And someday you all are going to say that I've got to meet a certain minimum here where it's got to be 70 or 72 or 80. Who knows what that is? But I believe we're headed towards this palm-based probabilities here is what I've termed it for the moment. I'm also supposed to talk to you about the single tool that every fundraiser can use to be successful. I sent out my survey to my colleagues out throughout the country and said, what do you think it is? Some of them came back and said it's email. Some of them came back and said it's text. It's really easy to text my donors and get some information back and that sort of thing. Some said that it's social media. And I'll propose to you that while social media is a great marketing tool, it's not the magic bullet that we all think it is. Has anyone heard of B.J. Mendelssohn's book? No? Okay. He recently wrote about his experiences with social media. He's an author, kind of contributes to news sources and that sort of thing. He has about 750,000 followers on Twitter. At one point it was up over 1 million. He speaks at events, does book signings, all this good kind of stuff. And he and his wife decided to take this across country and do a multi-stop tour throughout the country to help raise money for breast cancer awareness. And they had a goal of raising $5 million. So at the time he had about 1 million people on Twitter, so he said $5 each, we can get to 1 million. Some are going to give more, some are going to give less, but that was our goal. His Twitter account and the tour was promoted on ABC News. So he's headed out there with his wife to do the tour stops. They've got the PR behind him, the marketing behind him, the followers in place, so they're keyed up and ready for success. Anybody in the room want to guess how much money they raised? 25 grand? $20? That's bold. That's a bold prediction there. $5,000. $60,000. Not kidding, they raised $1. This is gross. Multiple tour stops throughout the country, wife there getting face-to-face in front of people and talk to them about the nonprofit and raise awareness. How many people showed up at the tour stops? Total throughout the country. How many people showed up to the tour stops? 3 people showed up. So if that just blows me away. So if success for a fundraiser relies on building relationships, and we need to focus on the why and not the how and not the what, how do we as fundraisers get that information at least today? What tool do we use to help get that information? And I'm going to say it's nothing more complicated than the old-fashioned telephone. Until you all can solve that for us and help us get the whys and the patterns out of that database, then I'm going to say it's nothing more complicated than us getting out there and actually building those relationships. The fault that Mendelssohn had is he had the following, he had the marketing, but he didn't know the people that are going there. So if we don't have a good understanding of why somebody is involved in that organization and follow that through in our fundraising side, then we're not going to be successful. So that's what I've got for them. Oh wait, no, I have one more. So your short-term assignments, the whole crux of this, is go back, get your development team's top 10 strategies, top 10 goals. And I don't mean just the fundraising goals, but what are they trying to do with their program? And go back and look at those reports that you have in your dashboards with that fresh perspective. And I guarantee you're going to find some issues and errors in there and start to tighten that up so that they are truly focused on those goals. Look at them regularly. Again, we do it every week. Sometimes there's not a lot of new information and it's a quick review and we move on, but you want to stay on top of it and be able to correct those trends as soon as possible. And then your long-term assignment is to go out and figure out those patterns and help us find the whys that are in that database, because that's what's going to help us raise money. So now I'm done. Questions? I'm sure there's lots of questions, maybe. One? No questions? Excellent. That was easy. All right, thank you.